I'd like to basically highlight to you this morning some of the changes that have in fact taken place in the past, in particular the past 4 years or so, regarding telecommunications in Fiji and overall in the ICT sector. Your theme for your conference is enabling access for all. Now that's a lot more fundamental than simply ICT. And as announced by the Prime Minister for the 2014 budget that was announced about a few weeks ago, there has been a very momentous and fundamental shift made in the education sector in Fiji. Over $500 million has been allocated for the education sector. And I think we're probably taking some of these things for granted. A few years ago, this would have been unthinkable. We have over $500 million allocated for the education sector. Now, apart from the fact that now we have the new allocation of awarding of grants to various institutions in Fiji, there has been now a truly free education system put in place. Just to put into perspective, over the past few years, when governments have been saying that education is free in primary school, governments were giving $30 per child per year, per student, in a school. So if you had 1,000 students in one primary school, for $30 a child would be getting $30,000. From next year, they'll be getting $250 a child. So they'll be getting $250,000 as opposed to $30,000. You can imagine what that means. Obviously, it means that parents do not have to fork out a single cent, even for very basic excursions, etc., to the school organizers. But it gives the school committees, it gives the school boards the ability to invest into schools. There are many primary schools, for example, that do not have any computers. Now, what this means is that you'll have all these schools suddenly having an exponential growth in the allocation of funding, for example, towards ICT development, in terms of what they call the computer classes. So, the fact that now we're putting more money into the pockets of the parents, it also means that every child has really no excuse not to go to school. Because there were still kids loitering around the streets because the parents could not afford the $50 building fund that is required by the school. So we can get rid of all those problems, but it also means an investment. The investment is in the human resources of Fiji. Similarly, we've done an additional allocation for tertiary, for high schools, but now also for tertiary education. Every single student that leaves Form 7 this year, and if they get a place, or he or she gets a place in a university, can go to the university without having to pay the tertiary fees up front. It's through the tertiary education loan scheme. So there's no problems regarding that. The government is going to pay that. You have to repay that once you start working, your gainful employment, at a very, very, very low interest rate. It's unheard of in this part of the world in any case, apart from, of course, Australia and New Zealand. So again, it's an investment in the future. So we have the opportunity now to have a Fiji within 5 to 7 years' time of a vast array of people who will be well educated, who will have the opportunity to pursue studies that they want to pursue. Because traditionally, what we have seen, not in all cases, but parents push their children to pursue perhaps accounting because it's got a bit more money, or because their neighbor's child is doing it, or because they think there are more jobs there. Because they have to fork out the money themselves. So we have to pay back that money very quickly. Now you have people who will be able to pursue studies that they really want to pursue. So again, you'll have that investment in those people. Emotionally, they're invested in those courses. If you're actually happy doing the course that you're doing, you'll obviously be performing better at it. Enormous investment, and we see that as part and parcel of this growth, this revolution that has been put in place. Now, coupled with that, focusing on providing access, given the topic of today and the focus is ICT, over the past few years, we have liberalized the telecommunications sector. I remember when, I see Samson is here, but I remember a few years ago when we took this initiative to liberalize the telecommunications sector. There were various exclusivities that Fintel had, TFL had, and Vodafone had. Nobody else would come into the market. I remember we negotiated, I think, over 5 days. And we reached an agreement at 3 a.m. in the morning outside one of the hotel rooms at the Radisson. It was called the Radisson Accord. Before that, there was all this fanciful amount that was being talked about, kind of the Y2K thing reminded me of that. That, you know, FNBF or Fintel and Vodafone wanted compensation for $150 million, $200 million, $500 million. They wanted compensation before they gave away the exclusivities. Now, we came away without paying a single cent and got that liberalization done. There was a bit of a lag time, about a year, before it was fully liberalized. Today, and the amazing thing about technology is, of course, nobody remembers that. Today, everybody takes it for granted that you have 2 mobile phone providers. Today, we take it for granted that every 2 weeks there'll be 7 up, there'll be 3 up, there'll be 5 up, whatever it's called. Today, we take it for granted that you can text for 5 cents. Before, you could text for $1 or 50 cents. So you see, this is the amazing thing about technology. Because technology, in particular in ICT, is that we take it up so quickly that we forget where we were probably in the dark ages only about 4 years ago. Today, a farmer can ring up and find out what's the price of dalo in Tavua as opposed to the price that he get in Lotoka. Or the fisherman in Yasawa can know where he should take his fish to or who he should take his fish to. And he can do that for 10 cents by texting. So it's not just our ability to be able to communicate with each other in social chats, but it's also very empowering in terms of the ability of people to be able to access information, which would in fact be very, very costly to access. So we believe that what's actually happened is that the cost of doing business, no doubt, as far as telecommunications is concerned, has come down significantly. But what it also does, it has in fact empowered us to carry out businesses, facilitated businesses. In the same way as the Prime Minister has now announced, we are putting in place a national switch. Today, if you use your ATM, if you're an ANZ, for example, card holder, you use your ATM ANZ card on an ANZ ATM machine, you pay a small fee. But you can also use your ANZ card in a Westpac machine or a BSP machine. The only reason you can do that is because those 2 banks have a bilateral agreement. But there is no national switch. So therefore, in the same way, today you will see that Bread Bank is not connected to any of those ATM machines because the big boys have decided not to let Bread Bank into their bilateral agreement. In the same way, Bank of Baroda has been in Fiji for years, decades. But they never had access to ATM machines. Only now I understand there's an agreement being notched up between BSP and Bread Bank. So the cost of setting up their business increases, and obviously they'll pass it on to you, the consumer. The argument, of course, of the incumbents is that we have invested in all these ATM machines, so we need to get our return. We have also, what is very, very critical, and I think it's very important to understand this, is spectrum planning. Spectrum is critical in terms of positioning ourselves for the digital age. And I remember about 3 years ago, when we put in place the spectrum plan, there were some incumbents who in fact were allocated frequencies that they did not even use. They were essentially hogging it. By hogging it, it restricted our ability to position ourselves for the future. It restricted our ability to expedite our stepping into the digital age. I remember I received a phone call from a New Zealand journalist and said, you put in place the spectrum plan, you're restricting the right of the media. It had nothing to do with media. It had nothing to do with the fact that, radio stations could no longer access the spectrum. Of course they could, but there was a reallocation to have optimum usage of the limited frequency. And people need to understand this when you have your discussions today. Spectrum is like limited real estate. It is absolutely limited. So the objective of any country is to ensure that we use that limited real estate in the most efficient manner. Otherwise we'll lose out. Next week the Prime Minister is launching 4G on Wednesday next week. Who would have thought a few years ago that Fiji would have 4G? There are many countries in the Asian countries, they have absolutely some of them not even into 3G. Papua New Guinea has got 2G. 35% penetration rate, 7 million population in excess of that. Only 35% of the people have access to mobile phones. Fantastic place to invest in telecommunications. Enormous potential. But what is also critical as part of the process, and because ICT, you need to take a holistic approach, is that you need to have absolute transparency in the allocation of spectrum. We had for the first time in Fiji's history an open tender process for 4G. It was advertised in the papers. And had all these phone companies coming in. Our Director of Communications is here. He was heading that. Together with, we brought in private sector people from New Zealand, where they had in fact done that also. Not necessarily all the resource skills rest within Fiji at this stage. So we believe it's best to get the best people to ensure that we have the best result in terms of that allocation. And as a result of that, we have the 4G launch next week. And we hope that the other providers who also were able to successfully bid for that will be launching that very soon. And hopefully that will resolve the issues such as University of Fiji not having access to internet after midnight. As a result of that also, or related to that, you may have also seen that we had recently an advertisement a few months ago about the identification of what we call the black spots throughout Fiji. So, I mean, hypothetically, and I think it's important to understand this. If, for example, on the northeast tip of Kandavu, there's only 2 villages, or 3 villages, a mobile phone company is not going to go and put up a $350,000 tower, knowing there's only about 50 people living there. Is they look at purely from a business perspective. What's their rate of return? When will they get back the $350,000? So obviously they need assistance. So government is providing that assistance through the Universal Service Access Fund that we have accumulated. So we've advertised, we have people who bid for it. So we will in fact contribute towards the construction of those towers. So the capital investment is reduced and they are more focused on providing the actual service. But what it also raises, interestingly enough, which we've never had in Fiji, if you look up I forget the name of the hill up here towards Tamabua, you'll see about 4 or 5 towers. Akombolele. 4 or 5 towers on one hill, because that's the sort of highest peak. So you have TFL, you have Communications Fiji, you have Fiji TV, you have FBC, you have Vodafone, you have Digicel. 5 towers. Everybody sets up their own tower. Many countries, or some countries now, have infrastructure sharing. You basically should just have one tower. We should be able to carry the antennas of, or the dishes, the technical term I'm not very familiar with, carry the dishes of all the telecommunication providers. So the initial cost, the investment is reduced. So it does not get passed on to you. So the new focus now in telecommunications should be on service provision. Linked to that is content, which I'd like to very briefly touch on. So we are looking now at, with these new areas we're going to subsidize infrastructure cost of sharing the actual infrastructure. So the media companies, the telecommunications companies essentially just focus on the service provision. So that's one of the new things that we are looking at doing very, very soon. Of course, in terms of connectivity, as the Prime Minister has now already launched about 15 telecenters throughout Fiji. Our target is 20 for this year. It has meant that about 50 to 60,000 people now have access to internet. And just those of you who may not know, the condition in which we put the telecenters up in the schools is that we obviously provide the computers, we provide the internet connection, we actually pay for it. In some of the schools, we're actually paying for the security guard Because the schools have said, if you're going to have these computers and you want us to give access to people outside school hours, we're worried that somebody might come in and nick those computers or steal those computers. So we actually give them a computer and we're giving them security guards, we're paying for that. The condition of us giving them the computers is that after hours they allow the people living in that area to be able to access those computers. In a rural area, there may be a village next door, there are farmers, etc. They can come and use it. We also give access to, at least say out of 5, we may have 2 of the computers where you have webcams, you have your earphones, etc. So a lot of people are scared of using computers. You may take it for granted. But the fact if you can tell them they can get a free phone call to their relative overseas, they'll come and use it. That's how you hook them on. So hopefully the next time he or she may use it to, look at what's happening regarding dal or sugar or fish, whatever it may be. That's how you hook people on. You need to entice them. You need to make computers and ICT sexy. It's not sexy enough for some people. You need to make it sexy enough. And that's a fact. Not a bunch of university students and vice chancellors sitting down and discussing computers. We have to get it out to the public. That's why content is very important. You can have all the connectivity in the world, but if the content does not relate to the ordinary citizen, they're not going to use it. So this is why government, as you may have heard, has outsourced the government ITC department. We have an Indian company called Yalaman Chili that is in fact developing much of the content that will be online onto the system. So for example, you should be, by middle of next year, be able to do title searches. You should be able to register your companies online. We have one window applications that are about to be completed for your applications for foreign investment certificates. And obviously, you should be able to pay online for those services. In the same way, if you're applying for scholarships, if you're getting information, all of that should be on the system. Your birth certificate, marriage certificate, all of that should be available online. In fact, it should have been done about 15 years ago. Fiji, in certain instances, is playing catch up. It's interesting, when we were appointed to government, it could take somewhere between 3 to 6 months to register a company in Fiji. When we went to Singapore, they were very disappointed with themselves because they could register a company in 15 minutes. They thought it took too long. Their target time was 3 minutes. We thought we did really well when we brought it down to 30 days. So the ease of doing business also incorporates our ability to absorb ourselves in the ICT development. There are many countries, for example, if you go to UAE, you want a visa, you apply online. Your visa is issued online. You make your payments online. It's also a source of revenue for governments. So these are some of the initiatives that we have put in place, of course, very, very quickly. As you know, we've reduced duty, zero-rated duty on all smartphones because we want people to know that mobile phones should not only be for voice but also for data. There obviously has been a challenge in terms of the passing on of the zero rating of duty to the consumers in many other areas, not just mobile phones. And we hope that the retailers do that. And as you heard the Prime Minister in his budget announcement say that there is a task force that has been put in place to look at wherever there's been a zero rating of duty or reduction in duties, that those benefits need to pass on to the consumers. If you set up an ICT company, minimum investment of $250,000, and you employ a minimum number of people, you get a 7-year corporate tax holiday. So we have a couple of data centers here that are processing various businesses in Fiji. For example, there's one in the Vinod Patel building. They employ about 250 people. 7-year corporate tax holiday. The advantage for them, talking to one of the persons who uses that center, saying that Fiji is only about 3.5, 4 hours away from Sydney. He can come in the morning, see the operations, and fly back out in the evening or the next day. And apparently we have neutral accents. So for them to set up a telecenter in Philippines or India, they have to spend a lot of money to get people to change their accents. Because most people, for example, if I'm an Australian and I make a phone call to inquire about my bank account or travel query, they don't want to hear somebody with a very deep accent. As far as they're concerned, they're calling somebody in Australia. So you need somebody with a neutral accent. And we Fijians have a neutral accent. So they have to spend less money on us to train us to change our accents, which is obviously an advantage. So these are the sort of, the synergies that we have and that we can also develop. But part and parcel of all of this, of course, is we need to always be focused on the fundamental infrastructure. As I mentioned to the forum that we had in Thailand last week, is we can sometimes get carried away and get very monofocused. We do still need roads, water, and electricity. Because if people do not have those fundamentals in place, they may not necessarily be attracted to ICT. And of course, to set up a computer lab, yesterday I was in Mombasa. Now there's the electricity grid has been extended from Nambuwalu to Draketi, Draketi to Nambuwalu, I should say. So there are schools along the line who are very, very excited because now they can actually have computers because they'll get a regular supply of electricity. So the schools actually still have wells to drink from for sanitation purposes. So all of that needs to go hand in hand with the development of ICT. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've probably said quite a bit. Some of the challenges, of course, of ICT is, like I mentioned very quickly, is the consumer protection. In terms of consumer rights, that's very important. As you know, the Prime Minister also announced the setting up of a consumer tribunal. There are disputes that may arise. But from a criminal perspective also, there's criminal culpability. I have heard about some of the content that goes on Facebook, some of the quite highly defamatory, libelous statements being made. Cyberspace is something that obviously needs to be also regulated. It is very, very important. In fact, we have a series of conferences every year on cybersecurity. And the jurisprudence in Fiji is completely undeveloped as far as cybersecurity is concerned, as far as, for example, defamation in cyberspace is concerned, that has not developed. But in some countries they have. They've successfully sued people for defamation, and they have successfully sued the provider of that service, which has allowed these types of libelous and defamatory comments to be made on the various sites. So I think there are some of the new challenges that need to be we need to look at. And overall, given the fact that there's been so much investment made in education, and the fact that we have now a leapfrogging into technology, new technology in Fiji, it's a very, very exciting time in Fiji. And I think we should all take advantage of it and use it to the best of our ability. From a long-term government perspective, we believe it will help to retain the brain capacity, the intellectual capacity within Fiji, but also at the same time, it does give us the ability to be able to send our people away on, for short terms, hopefully, to work in other countries in the Pacific and other parts of the world, but they always retain their connectivity with Fiji. I wish the conference a very successful discussions and outcome, and I wish you a very good morning.